Welcome to the Learning Styles Crash Course video. In this video, we will go over the different learning styles and how to overcome difficulties of online learning no matter your learning style. The saying that everyone is different doesn't just apply to people's personalities, but also how they learn best. There are 4 distinct types of learning styles. In this picture, you can see some characteristics of people that would typically fall into these categories. A visual learner likes to see things. Maybe they're a fast talker or impatient. An auditory or oral learner likes to hear things, so they might speak more slowly or be seen as listeners. A read-write learner likes to learn by reading and writing. They prefer written text and emphasize text-based input. Kinesthetic learners like to do things. They're slow to make decisions and use all of their senses to engage in learning. First, we'll look more closely at visual learners. Typically, a visual learner learns best by seeing or visualizing the information. These types of people will think of things in images, for example. If you're trying to remember a fact and in your head you picture the word written down, like on a study guide, this is a sign of being a visual learner. Mostly, visual learners will sit towards the front of the class to be able to see the professor's body language and hand movements. Visual learners typically cannot remember or conceptualize material from just hearing it. They must see it. They can come from graphs, charts, images, or even a lot of notes. On the other hand, auditory learners tend to be slow speakers and are natural listeners. This type of learner finds it easy to retain information that is told to them compared to reading it. Auditory learners tend to learn best from verbal lectures and class or group discussions. Auditory learners are also better at being attuned to people's tone, pitch, and speed, allowing them to interpret underlying meanings. Kind of like visual learners, writing and reading learners prefer things to be written down instead of said. Writing and reading learners understand and remember material best when it is written in words. These learners will typically take a lot of notes and will reread them a lot or even rewrite them. They will also have a better understanding of the material the first time they read it more than other types of learners. Finally, there are kinesthetic learners. Typically, kinesthetic learners learn best through touching, building, moving, drawing, or doing things that simulate the lesson. This means that kinesthetic learners tend to be active or participate in activities. They are also usually open to trying out new things or ways to learn and will work to manipulate objects or models because watching others demonstrate the material will not help them learn as well. Kinesthetic learners will also have issues sitting for long periods of time, so they will keep moving around to help their concentration. So, we've gone over the different learning styles, and next we'll go over tips for each type of learner, but this doesn't really help you if you don't know your learning style. Maybe hearing the descriptions already helped you determine what type of learner you are, or you previously knew. But did you know that you could have more than one learning style? It's all about strengths and finding what works for you. So if you're not sure or want to double check and see if you have a learning style you didn't already realize, take the VARK, V-A-R-K, Visual, Auditory, Reading, Kinesthetic. Take the VARK Learning Style Assessment. The link will be under this video. The best way to utilize your new knowledge about learning types is to adapt to your professor's teaching style. Every class and every professor teaches differently, and now that we're learning online, things may be even more difficult. Some ways to overcome these difficulties is to teach yourself the material based on your specific learning style, or study the material in your own way, and to practice for an exam in a style based on your learning style. Visual learners should highlight keywords in their notes or textbooks. This allows the information to pop out more and increases information retention. A good way to study is to create flashcards. These can be online or physical, so with Quizlet or with paper flashcards. When making flashcards, visual learners should use limited words or information to encourage mental imagery. When practicing for an exam, visual learners should convert their notes into visual displays. For example, turning bullet point steps into a picture. Then these visual displays should be turned back into words. This helps prepare you for expressing information on an exam. Finally, visual learners tend to respond well to color coding. For example, when highlighting, key terms or vocabulary can be yellow, while main ideas can be pink. If you're an auditory learner, a good way to process material is to work in small groups to discuss and listen to others. You can FaceTime or Zoom call peers and discuss material. This will allow you to hear other students' perspectives. When studying, you can read notes and other texts aloud and then practice reciting information to yourself. If your professor does not teach in a beneficial style to you, this will help replicate that lecture. Now that we are online, many professors are hosting Zoom or conference calls as lectures or discussions. If your professor does this, ask if they can record the lecture so you can listen to it on your own. When preparing for an exam, a tip is to state problems out loud and talk yourself through the steps. Another way to prepare is to imagine written questions as someone asking you that question in conversation. For example, you can imagine you're in an interview and the practice problem you wrote or found is a question the interview asks you. Some reading and writing learning tips are to rewrite your notes and review your notes frequently. You should rewrite them to organize them and then try rewriting them by memory on a whiteboard or paper. You should practice rewriting information in other words when you do rewrite them. This will help you during the exam because the professor can ask you about material in many different ways. When studying, you can try converting visual displays into words. For example, if your professor provides a picture in your slideshow to explain a process, try converting that visual image into words. Additionally, your notes or the lecture slideshows are likely in bullet points or something similar. Try writing this information into paragraphs. Write your notes like a story. This will help you prepare for written questions. Another great learning tip is to write lists. This will help you remember what tasks need to be completed and what you need to focus on. Reading and writing learners have a great advantage during this online learning. If your professor is posting video lectures, you can turn the captions on and follow along with the written transcript of the lecture as they speak. Finally, kinesthetic learners. Some kinesthetic learning tips are to first skim through the notes or textbooks before class. This will refresh your memory before learning new material. When studying, you should move as you study. Find a place where you can pace around while you're working on things. You can also record yourself reading your notes and listen to them while doing other things. For example, record your biology notes and then listen to them while you do chores. Generally, you should take frequent study breaks, but don't go on your phone. Try walking around the house or down to the end of the driveway and then start again. When in lecture calls, you should try to keep yourself busy by taking notes, drawing charts, and anything that helps keep you focused on the material. In order to properly prepare for your exam, you should create kinesthetic learning environments to work in. So, clear out a space. You shouldn't work in a crowded area where you can't move or where you'll be easily distracted. Another good tip is to type your notes from class instead of rewriting them. While typing your notes can also create visual displays to organize your material. For example, you can make flowcharts or draw images matching your notes. If you would like to go into more detail, which we really suggest you do for such an important and vast topic, please visit the Office of Academic Skills webpage and make an appointment with an academic skills tutor. Thanks for watching and best of luck for the rest of the semester.